Evening viewers, and welcome to tonight's episode of Grumpy Old Men, Thursday the 21st, and got a few things to talk about today, which is great. A little bit of political stuff and some movies and whatever else pops up through the conversation. I'm here tonight with Greg, Grumpy, Lance, and of course you guys already know me from the last episode, Pinky. Well, about a week ago, we had the voting of the tik-tok situation. So I'm sure. I mean, it's a week ago. I'm sure everyone knows about it by now.
Yeah, that's scary. That is scary.
If you don't know, spoiler, we're going to tell you anyway. So I feel like over time there's this constant. Well, I'm sure other people would agree that there's this constant movement to create new laws and regulations around things that aren't necessarily an issue, or are manipulated into being an issue, with the view to use it for something sinister later. Now, I might be cynical, but that's how I feel. And I feel like this TikTok ban is another case of exactly the same thing.
For me, it's just another law to take away some more of your rights.
Yeah, absolutely.
They'll chip away at it.
Absolutely. Yeah. And a poor excuse. I mean, at the end of the day, you know, the excuse is that TikTok is owned by China. Well, in fact, it's not as simple as that. In fact, actually, 60% of TikTok is owned by global investors, so from all around the world, including America. 20% is actually owned by ByteDance, which is a Chinese company, right? And the other 20% is owned by the employees of the company, which includes over 7,000 US citizens in America. So it's not as simple as just, you know, China owns it and we need to shut it down. Even with government, they have what they call, what's it called? The golden share in China, which is where if a company gets to a certain size, the Chinese government then demands their golden share. They're
really?
Part of the business. So they become linked to the business, and they're actually able to monitor everything that goes on within that business. And it gives them a level of control in a communist country where they can still use the benefits of capitalism, right? But the government has access to that control and funds.
Right. Talking about access, 20% of that is owned by the Chinese government.
Yeah.
Okay?
No.
Well, Chinese company, is it, or Chinese government?
No, it's the Chinese government, but it's not 20%. You're talking about TikTok?
Yeah.
It's right. It's 1%.
1%.
Yeah.
Well, how much data does China get from TikTok?
Only the data that's outside of the USA. All data that's collected in the USA since 2022 is not allowed to go offshore. So that's why I'm saying this is a false flag. This is all China owns it. They got all our information. Now, whether there's spyware, who's to say? I mean, if anyone has any real insight, knock yourselves out in the comment section. But, you know, who's to really say whether they have spyware in place and they're collecting information? But as far as I'm aware, because of the global investors, they have a lot of control. They own 60% of the company, and they're able to determine what's going to happen to that information.
Yeah.
So I don't think it's as easy as, you know, some backdoor of information siphoning through to China.
Yeah.
So it feels like, you know, this is another example of government overreach where they're saying, you know, we need to shut this down because it is a bit of a well, like X, it's kind of a freedom platform where people can say whatever they like and they're not controlled by the government. They can't be censored by the government because it's a private company. So, you know, I think it's an overreach. And I also feel like this is an opportunity for them to put rules and regulations in place that they can use in other ways later on. Like if you listen to the wording of what they're actually voting on, they're making it quite ambiguous, I suppose you could say, where they can later on use this to their own
They kind of generalised it and called it a platform which basically covers any social media.
Yeah.
So if the president turns around and says, okay, let's ban this because I think they're connected, they can.
That's enough. It should be, if they're really serious about it, the issues that they think exist with TikTok, they should make the ban about TikTok, not about social media and platforms, because then it just extends into a whole range of other things. And I think that's where the issue lies.
It doesn't just cover TikTok or any of the social media. It actually says website. So it covers a whole lot of things, which is very scary. And for those of you not quite full bottle on TikTok that we receive is very different to to what TikTok has in China.
Absolutely, yeah.
Because of the way the algorithm works. Of course, we know the cesspool that TikTok can become. I've got a lot of creative friends that are on there, fantastic content. But then again, there's a lot of rubbish. Like I know there's this one particular Russian girl that does a 30-second dance in the middle of a city, and she's got 4 million views. Absolutely useless to the world, but that's the type of things we have. And of course, we've got all our woke stuff on there as well. Whereas in China, they push things like, fantastic, amazing violin players.
Oh, it's a completely different platform.
It's more educational than it is entertainment.
I'm curious about how different it is between the USA and Australia. It's probably not that different, to be honest, because we're a Western country. So we'll probably just let them all have the same garbage. Yeah. But that's a very good point. The garbage. This has always been part of the bigger movement of what China tries to do. That they're advancing their own country as you're supposed to do. Anybody in that position should do the same, and not, whether they're communists or not. In reality, that's what you should be doing. You should be looking after your own country. So they're always about trying to educate their children and what have you. Like I think a lot of the schools in the last couple of years have been taken over by the government, so they can control information, which can be a bad thing. Yeah. So I don't know. It's a slippery slope. Like they're stepping into there to make sure that those kids are well educated, but then they also have the ability to control what those children are taught. So. Yeah. I don't know.
That's the argument, is China's trying to subvert the West.
Totally.
Through TikTok.
Totally. That's where I'm heading with that. Thing, so while they're at home teaching their children in what's equivalent to our primary level, they're teaching them coding, and they're teaching them anything else they need to conquer the world even more than they have. Meanwhile, they're pumping our kids full of all this nonsensical rubbish that just means nothing to anybody.
Correct, yeah.
And look, I'm all for the girls, the boys, and anything in between getting out there and making their videos, having some fun with all of that. But the issue is that, the algorithm feels sort of skewed, even though the algorithm, in a perfect environment, the algorithm would create its own demons and angels. If you're following content that's all about lifting yourself up and inspiration, then that's what will keep appearing in your playlist of whatever it is that you're on, YouTube, TikTok, whatever else. Whereas it can also work the other way. If you want to watch all the dark and cynical stuff around the world, you'll end up stuck in that loop. And quite often when that becomes quite strong, it overpowers everything else that's in your algorithm, and then it's just that, which can be, that can have a big detriment on mental health. In both ways, it can be quite detrimental to mental health when you're fed all this negativity about the world, but also all this positivity. You can create a false sense of security.
Oh, absolutely. So they can create a narrative and then enhance that and push that narrative harder than it otherwise wouldn't.
Correct. But I feel that the algorithm is skewed towards pumping our kids with rubbish.
Absolutely.
I really do.
Guaranteed.
So in some ways I feel like banning TikTok, on a personal level, I kind of feel like banning TikTok is not a bad thing, because we then take all of that junk out of Western society. But the freedom of speech element, I think, overrules that. And I think that TikTok shouldn't be banned, because, you're a product of your own creation when you're in those sort of zones. If you're on there watching all the rubbish on TikTok, you're going to keep watching rubbish. You can get away from that by watching the right things.
That's right, because the algorithm will work out what you're watching and just keep on pushing that to you.
I still think it's a little skewed, and I think it still does try to push all that other crap, but you can sift your way through that and find your way to the other end if you're paying attention to what you're watching and not getting caught up in all the crap.
Yeah.
1 minute you're watching something that's educational and interesting and fun, and all of a sudden something pops up, something sparkly that catches your attention, and you're off down another tangent. And I feel like, when that stuff pops up in your feed a little bit here and there, the strength of the algorithm allows that to override everything else a lot faster, if that makes sense. Whereas if you're watching that stuff all the time and one educational thing pops up, the algorithm's designed not to let that stuff in as much. I know that sounds wacky, but that's how I view it. So that's why I think these kids are stuck in this loop of perpetual garbage.
And it also creates a vacuum. all of a sudden you join into that algorithm, and everyone else interested in that becomes part of that algorithm. And before you know it, all you're listening to is a whole bunch of stuff that's affirming your issues.
Yeah, it's being
if you have gender dysphoria, or you have some other issue, all of a sudden you're going to come across other people that also have that issue, and they're just saying, okay, we're affirming what you got, it's okay what you got, you know, you don't need any help, you can just continue.
Yeah.
And just creates an absolute disaster.
Yeah, yeah. And that's on a lot of different levels.
Yeah.
You know, you can just get into, you know, disliking a particular person or political party or group of actors or whatever. You'll find other elements within that cesspool that will agree with what you say, and all of a sudden you've got a voice that's resonating with other people and vice versa. So you get caught up in that as well.
Yeah.
So there's a lot to that. So is it a good thing? Is it a bad thing? I don't know. The jury's still out for me. I feel like I said, I on a personal level, I feel like it's a good thing. On a social level, where it comes to freedom of speech, etc., I think it's a bad thing. But I guess at the end of the day, I'd love to say that the people get to decide, but they don't, because we'll cut to a clip in a moment on X and you'll see the landslide vote that took place. Let's have a look.
Yeah, when you get, you know, both parties in such agreement, you kind of got to go, oh, something's wrong here.
Yeah.
All right, so...
On this vote, the yeas are 352, the nays are 65. One present, 2/3 being in the affirmative. The rules are suspended, the bill is passed, and without the objection, the motion to reconsider is laid on the table.
Look at that,
So there you go.
352 to 65.
Practically a 5-1 landslide.
That's just crazy.
Almost 6-1 landslide.
They're talking about, this is the House, and it has to go to the Senate, I believe, next. Once it gets to the Senate, they're saying it'll pass there overwhelmingly. But it can be actually stopped at the courts because of the freedom of speech. Yeah, because this is a complete infringement, like I said, of freedom of speech. They're taking away a platform.
Yeah. And look, at the end of the day, you know, if I was to sit here and say, you know, they should take away TikTok but not the other platforms, then I'm just as guilty as anybody else of doing the one rule for thee, one rule for me kind of thing, and sitting here saying, well, I think they should. At the end of the day, unless the content is on there is being controlled and censored, then I don't think the platform itself should be removed. You know, but that's my view. What's your view? Feel free to leave something in the comments and let us know what you think.
The problem is it's a slippery slope. Once you open up that type of power to the governments, which they've overreached, as we know, with Twitter before, and we know all the issues we had with Twitter before Elon bought it, and all the colluding that the government did with Twitter. And it's also recently just happened in Australia as well, where, who was it? I can't remember who the person was. If you do, leave it in the comments, where she got caught out colluding with Facebook and censoring. It was the yes vote. I believe it was the yes vote.
Maybe.
Yeah. We've got to chase it up. We'll fact check it and we'll get back to you.
Yeah, next episode.
Yeah, next episode.
Yeah. That's
crazy. I mean, what can you do? You can fight it. You can get people like us who now have started a show that, you know, we want to get the message out there so everyone knows what's going on. Mainstream media is not going to help you because they collude with the government as well.
Yeah.
I got away from mainstream media a few years ago because I just couldn't take their lies anymore. And I found that looking at independent journalists was the best thing I've ever done.
Yeah. And I think one of the independent journalists that got me sort of moving away from mainstream media, believe it or not, was Mark Dice. So I was watching a lot of his stuff a few years ago, and it just really opened my eyes to the stupidity of, you know, the propaganda that's pushed upon people. So yeah, I think I don't, to be honest, I don't watch much of his stuff anymore. But he certainly was one of the first people that I sort of took an interest in. I think because he's humorous as well.
Yeah.
Pretty funny. So I think he sort of opened my eyes a little bit more to that sort of stuff. But look, up until a few years ago, I wasn't really interested in American politics. I sort of, I'm still interested in American politics to a degree, but I'm probably more interested in Australian politics when you really weigh it up, because we live here and it's, there's a lot of stuff going on in Australian politics that we don't really talk about. And I think that's because a lot of people are caught up in the sensationalisation of the Trumps and the Bidens and the Clintons and the how many people they've killed and all that sort of stuff. Don't sue me. But so I think people get caught up in all of that, and it's more interesting and sensationalised than Australian politics. Australian politics, you can fall asleep in minutes if you're not careful. So I get it, but I
think that's because there's so much happening in the US, constantly happening on. One of the greatest things on this planet, I personally think, is the US Constitution, because it protects Joe Blow. The First and Second Amendments, the second one protects the first and the first protects the second. And no other country has the First Amendment, which is the freedom of speech. No other country. Australia, we found that out during the lockdowns, because both New Zealand and Australia, who was New Zealand? I've forgotten her name. She's
Jacinta
Ardern, yeah. She turned around and goes, we'll let you know what the truth is. Hello? the Ministry of Information.
Yeah. Exactly.
Crazy. Exactly. I'm just looking up, trying to find this dude at the moment. Have you heard of a guy by the name of Yuri Bezmenov?
No.
Okay. He was an ex-KGB officer, and he defected to the US in the 80s. And just give me a second.
I think I know who you're talking about. He's the one who was explaining the plan that Russia has to corrupt the West. Yeah,
correct.
Okay.
I found it. It's only a minute and a half long.
Yeah.
So let's hit
we'll
X.
watch the whole thing. That'd be great.
Yeah, the whole interview goes for about 15 minutes, but it's this one particular section.
We'll watch this minute.
So let's head over to X once again, and
it's divided in 4 basic stages. The first one being demoralization. It takes from 15 to 20 years to demoralize a nation. This is the minimum number of years which requires to educate one generation of students. The demoralization process in the United States is basically completed already. It's done by Americans to Americans, thanks to lack of moral standards. The next stage is destabilization. It takes only from 2 to 5 years to destabilize a nation. What matters is essentials: economy, foreign relations, defense systems. The next stage, of course, is crisis. It may take only up to 6 weeks to bring a country to the verge of crisis. And after crisis, with a violent change of power, structure, and economy, you have normalization. It may last indefinitely. This is what will happen in the United States if you allow all these schmucks to bring the country to crisis, to promise people all kind of goodies and the paradise on earth.
I promise you.
To destabilize your economy, to eliminate the principle of free market competition, and to put a big brother government in Washington, D.C. Your leftists, all these professors and all these beautiful civil rights defenders, they are instrumental in the process of the subversion only to destabilize the nation. And it's divided.
Yeah.
Crazy. And,
it's amazing, isn't it? It's like a handbook to what's happening. I mean, that's the problem, isn't it? Like, you look at what he's saying and all of those things are happening. And, we're over here in Australia, so we're not privy to every nuance. We're not there seeing it in person, seeing it in the streets. But when you look at the way America's falling apart, as I always say, stick a fork in it, it's done.
A lot of that filters down to us.
Totally.
Yeah. Because we're so connected with the US, both through media and the fact that we have defence contracts with them, defence in our alliances, we get a lot of that happening in... we're a Western country.
Yeah. And
you'll find all the Western countries have the similar path.
Yeah.
And it usually starts with the US. Some areas, Europe are ahead, and things like with the trans movement as well, they're dialing it all back now. They've recently changed some of their laws. But then that filters down back to us. I think we're usually about 18 months behind to what happens in the US.
Yeah, which I think is a good thing that we that we run a little bit behind, because we're watching all these things unfold. Like I'm not anti-trans, I'm not anti-anything. I'm anti it shoved in my face.
Yeah, totally agree.
And I think that's what most people are confused about. Like walking around going, I'm sick of hearing it, I don't want to know about this, I don't want to know about that. It's not because we don't want to know about you and your story and your problem and where you're heading in your life.
Yeah.
It's that I'm sick of it being shoved in my face.
I'm totally with you.
And I think most people have that same issue, but they're not articulating it properly because they just get angry and frustrated, and next thing you know, it's like a hate movement, or hate speech. So, but I think what's a good thing about Australia is that we tend to run a little bit behind with all that stuff, and I think, you know, I'm at an age now where I can look back to 20 years ago and see, in hindsight, because we weren't as aware, we didn't have the internet and we didn't have, you know, the sort of information, readily available information we have now. But you can look back to those times and go, gee, we were just following along behind America and the rest of the West and going, yeah, okay, well, they're ticking those boxes, so we better tick those boxes, or we're going to, you know, not going to be friends with these people anymore. So we fell into that trap. I think the beauty of Australia in that respect is that because we do run a little bit behind, and the way the current world is, and the exchange of information and the pace at which it runs, we still have an opportunity to get ahead of the curve with some of these things. Like, I know that we've got some rules and regulations in place in regard to a lot of those topics, like, you know, gender issues and what have you. But we haven't gone full swing like America have. Like, you look at America over the last few years, and it's like every second person seems to be, you know, involved in all that sort of stuff. Whereas here, I think I've seen one trans person. I don't know if anybody else has been in that situation. I think I've seen one or two trans people in the last few years. They're not sort of on every street. Well, they're not in every shop front. They're not everywhere. Even in the schools, like I talk to some of the kids that I know that are teens, and you say, "Oh, are there any trans kids in your school?" And, oh, there's one in the whole school. So we're very different to America in that respect. Yeah, and I think those people have their opportunity and they have their platform, and I think that if they have a process they need to go through, I'm not against that. That's up to them. But what I'm seeing is all the things that are rolling back in other countries, we still have a chance to stop that from getting into place here because we're running behind, if that makes sense. Yeah. So I feel like, you know, we can have a better level-headed view of all that stuff as it all unravels, rather than this big pendulum of, you know, oh, everyone should be trans. Or, oh, hang on, we should burn all the trans. You know, it's like from one to the other. We're in the middle, just sort of watching and going, what's going to happen here? And then we can go, okay, this is the balance and this is where it should be. So I think there's opportunities for Australia to get it right.
Yeah. I've got an 8-year-old and you've got about 48 kids, I think, if I remember rightly. So
at the moment, if there's anybody else out there who thinks they might be my child.
That's right. Yeah. Just leave a comment.
Yeah,
there's going to be lots of comments.
Or anybody who wants to be adopted. No.
So we've been part of the school system, and I haven't seen any type of ideology being filtered through the school system in Australia, where it's really rampant overseas, specifically obviously USA, which is what you're saying is great. It's good. By the time it starts to filter here, we already see the mistakes they're making, and we can go, stop.
Exactly.
It's not working.
That's what I think.
And things like the soft on crime that they have in most of the cities, the lefty cities in the US, we've seen that has not worked.
Well, didn't they just bump it up to like $1,000 of theft? That the police won't even come after you?
It was 900 at one stage.
Yeah, I think it's gone up again. A little, not by much, but again.
Yeah, wow.
There's that video from a couple of weeks ago with the guy walking through an Apple store, just filling up his tracksuit pants. Yeah. And walks past a police car. You know.
AOC said, they're only stealing bread to feed their families. Yet they're stealing Nike shoes and Pierre Cardin, bags and shoes.
Well, there was one that stole $50,000 from the Gucci store.
Yeah, and they do it in mobs. They actually do it in mobs. Yeah. You know? And I'm yet to see one happen in the supermarket for food.
Yeah.
No, sorry, I correct myself. I have actually.
Have you?
I saw somebody stealing a trailer, shopping trailer load of meat.
Yeah. Okay.
Just meat. That's all it was. And they stopped, I can't remember he or her, whatever. or they, them.
I see. I would almost understand that, we're a penal colony at the end of the day here, and the history of this country, like we've got a lot of mixed races here, but the history of our country is, we always hear the stories about the convicts that stole a loaf of bread to feed their family or a bag of sugar or whatever else, and got shipped out here for a life sentence of colonising a country. And yes, I said colonising to all of you, all you whiteys like me. So that's a topic for another day. If these people, you see the detriment of America at the moment, how it's falling apart at the seams, the drugs, the homelessness and everything else. So if these people were stealing food, there's a part of me that would sort of say, well, good on you. You've got to feed. I feel bad for the person in the small business, but you've got to feed your family, man, at the end of the day. And that I would understand, but they're not.
That's right.
And that's what is really, it's grinding on me. I don't live there, so at the end of the day, I can't say too much about that because I'm not there to experience it. But of what we see, it grinds on me. You can't justify going and stealing $20,000 sneakers out of the window of some shop and go, oh, I'm trying to feed my family. Well, they don't eat sneakers.
Are misdemeanors, which means if you're caught, you're processed and let out. That is it. And you can do it multiple times. And it doesn't get upgraded to a felony or anything like that. Every charge...
Don't they have the 3 misdemeanors it becomes a felony and then 3 felonies become something? I don't know. I don't understand them.
I don't know if it's still in. I remember because I watched a few movies.
Yeah, Third Strike.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm not up on American law and I don't
Yeah.
profess to be. So
No,
someone can
trust us.
Again,
Yeah.
feel free to correct us in the comments. We're learning
Let
this
us
stuff
know.
as we go.
But the 3-strike law, I remember it was out. I have no idea if it's still enforced. But the issue they were filling up prisons left, right and centre because of it. Yeah. Unlike El Salvador, which imprisoned, 50,000 Koreans in a space of months.
It felt like it was half the country.
That's right, yeah. And now, overwhelmingly, the Prime Minister, or was it the President, got voted back in just a few days ago.
Yeah.
Overwhelmingly. Yeah. Amazing. Yeah.
Did you see his speech at the WEF?
No.
Oh, you need to check that out. I feel like he got invited along because... He was new in his position, so they invited him.
Are you talking about Mealy? Or
are you talking about Mealy?
No, I don't think it's the same guy.
Oh, who are you talking about?
Mealy's he's not El Salvador.
Oh, I thought you were talking about Venezuela. Sorry.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. But,
yeah.
El Salvador. So, I can't think of his name. He came from a very small town.
Yeah.
He wasn't a politician. He decided to get into politics to clean up his own town, and he did such a good job, and he got such a popular vote that he just naturally went up the ladder. That's how he got to where he is. Yeah,
because
different.
I think that's his name, Mealy. He's that real crazy Trump supporter guy.
He's but his speech. Did you see his speech?
Yes, I did. Okay. I did. Yeah.
Sorry,
because he took over in November or something. He became
it was late
leader.
last
Yeah.
year.
In a space of 3-4 months, he's taken a country that was in debt. For the first time, they've actually recorded a surplus in cash.
Yeah,
that's crazy. In months, we're talking about months.
Yeah.
It's like when was it Xi Jinping that visited San Francisco, and they were able to clean up the whole city in a week.
Oh yeah, get everyone off the street.
That's right. All the homes they cleaned out. Before that, they were saying, "Oh, it's a hard project to fix. We can't solve this problem."
Didn't they spend millions of dollars on street furniture that you couldn't sleep on? I'm sure there was a video about that where they made there were park benches and things, but they put spikes and things in them. They did and they brought out all this
like
crazy...
they did for pigeons.
No, they brought out, same principle, but they brought out all this wacky furniture so no one could sleep on it and stuff like that. I'm sure they spent millions. But anyway.
They just recently installed a $300,000 toilet. I can tell you that much.
What?
A $300,000 toilet.
And what does it do that any other toilet doesn't
do? It's a toilet.
That's like those stupid ones here that we have. They've probably got them all around the world. The ones that Do you know the ones I'm talking about, Lance? The stupid toilets that we have here. Those ones where you go up and you press the button and and then there's a voice and then it hoses the whole thing out when you're finished. And
I think I've been one of those.
Have you?
I don't think it was working that day. It was kind of gross when I walked in.
It's like the government's version of the McDonald's ice cream machine. It's we've got this amazing machine that never works.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Have you been there, Lance?
I think I might have spent once or twice going into those toilets, on your way out to
Were you sober?
Oh, look, we're talking many years ago now, so I probably was not.
If the first one you went in, you thought you were dreaming, yeah.
That's Lance, our phantom controller.
Tech guy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I mean, this is a crazy world we live in, and the great thing is it's a pendulum. So
totally.
We're starting to swing back slowly from the actual craziness, which is great to see. Because as an old fart, I got to admit, even though I like to think I got my finger on the pulse pretty much, I still found it hard to understand what was happening with the world. It changed so much and moved so far to one direction. I just couldn't get my head around it. And I'm trying to understand. I'm looking at it and I'm trying to think, that just doesn't make sense. Why are you following it? Why are you pushing this? It's dangerous. It's, again, doesn't make sense. Why?
See, when I was a kid, right, as a young kid, I wanted to be a spaceman out in space. And
where else would you be?
Well, just occupy a random space
in the corner.
Just any old space.
Mum,
has anybody got any space?
I'm just going to go. I'm going to crawl into the cupboard now, Mum.
This is my space.
That's right.
No, but I wanted to be a spaceman, and I'm glad that I didn't, identify as a spaceman, because that could have been really awkward considering I've never been to space.
Yeah.
So I feel it has gone a bit extreme.
You don't have to go to space to identify. There's a lot of people identifying as very things they can't be or have been.
Look, that's a conversation for another day.
Yeah.
We should do an episode on that at one stage.
I'm sure we'll get to it. We're only at episode 2.
Yeah, episode 2.
Yeah.
I don't hold anything against anyone who decides that that's their calling in life, but you've also got to keep it a certain amount of realism. So, like, I was hearing a story the other day. I can't remember if I heard it on the internet or through someone I know, but there was a woman who walked into a retail shop, and started meowing at someone because they identify as a cat. And so they're meow, 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 meow at this person behind the register. And this person behind the register saying, well, I don't know what you're saying. I can't understand what you're saying. Yeah. And they were getting angrier. Meow, 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 meow. And this poor person behind the register is like, well, how am I supposed to handle this? I've got no idea what... And I guarantee you, like, what's a good example? Okay, so the very first season of Star Trek, right? We're going back away here. Sorry to the younger viewers.
Original series?
The original series, okay. Do you remember the Klingons?
Yeah.
Do you remember what they looked like?
Yeah, humanoid.
They all look like Genghis Khan.
Yeah, Mongolians, right? Yeah, correct.
And the language was just... It was just... I think they spoke English for the most part, but when they did speak any Klingon, it was just random noises. It wasn't a language. And then you look at what happened over generations of Star Trek, where the fans created a language, and now they can actually hold a conversation in Klingon, right? But you could say to one of those today, well, how do you say hello in Klingon? They could say, oh, blah, 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 whatever. It's no offence to anyone who speaks Klingon.
You actually sounded like R2-D2. Wrong franchise.
Yeah, wrong franchise. Sorry, got my wires crossed.
It's more angry.
Yeah, that's right. Okay, so let's just say you're speaking to someone who speaks Klingon, and they could say, oh, this is how you say hello. Right? And they've got a language, right? But if you'd have said to someone back in the 60s, how do you speak Klingon? They would have made up some wacky noise. And if you asked them a week later to say hello in Klingon, it'd be a different noise. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. Because it's not an established language.
That's right.
So when you walk, I guarantee you that girl that walked into that shop, she might be in her head saying, hello, where do I find, ladies' underwear? But if she came back a week later and you asked her to say the same thing in her cat language, it'd be completely different. Yeah. Now, if she can't even speak her own damn language, how does she expect anyone behind the register to know what the hell she's on about?
Yeah. Look, I totally agree. This thing about pronouns...
Sorry, Lance, what were you going to say?
I'm just wondering, why was it that anyone tried to speak to the cat and they didn't try and call animal control?
Get her neutered.
Yeah, probably has been. let's make it a little bit more light-hearted.
Yeah, let's. We do this every episode so far.
2 episodes.
Yeah, well, that's probably. Don't be surprised if it becomes a bit of a format. We get through the tough topics, and now it's time to catch our breath.
This is our second episode, and we're kind of finding our feet at the moment.
Yeah,
would love to get your comment, what you think, and what what we can introduce. We've got a whole bunch of plans and ideas and some stings, and so that's all happening.
And also in future episodes, if there's anybody out there who feels that they want to come and talk to us about any of these topics, we're always open to a bit of conversation. Totally. Yeah. So, if something that we are saying sounds way off key and you'd like to clarify, don't just chuck it in the comments. Feel free to come and talk to us. You won't get any negative, pushback from us. We're happy to listen to everyone's ideas.
Yeah. And if you're the mother of one of Pinky's children, come and see us.
Okay, easy. It makes it sound like there's a boat full. There's only 4.
Where do you think all these illegals are coming from?
They're all mine.
That's right. Every time you go to holiday to Bali, another boatload
6
comes
kids
back.
come back, yeah.
Okay. Well,
I'm only joking. I've got 4 kids out there who are now thinking, how many brothers and sisters do I have? I'm only joking.
Yeah. And anyone that doesn't have a father, well, he's always open.
Oh, that's right. That's right. He's out for rent. We don't charge much.
No.
Yeah, interest free.
Yeah. There's always a spare room at my house.
Yeah. Some great movies starting today.
Absolutely.
Which is the 21st. Yeah, the 21st. Some super duper movies that I've been looking forward to. Of course, the big one is Ghostbusters. It's happening all over the world.
Have you seen it? I didn't get a chance to see it today.
I hasn't. No. I mean, it's playing right now when
we're working.
No, I'm hoping to get there during the weekend if I can.
For a few hours.
Yeah, that's right. We're too busy getting this show together.
Absolutely.
Because some people got to work, And if you're actually part of the cinema industry, some tickets will be great. Some preview tickets. Yeah. So, we can report on it earlier. So, like I was saying, Ghostbusters, A Frozen Empire is coming out, or has come out today.
Yeah.
Coming out. And we've got some great news. I think it looks pretty good. And a lot of it's going back to the original movies. They're setting it back in New York, was it? New York? And back at the fire station.
Yeah.
Which is great to see. Thank God they never ever tore it down, the real building. It stayed there the whole time. Yeah. Now, we've got a new director on this one, Gil Kennan. The previous one was directed by Jason Reitman, who's the son of Ivan Reitman. Mm-hmm. Ivan Reitman was the original producer of the very first 2 Ghostbusters. I think there was one in the middle somewhere, but we kind of memory hold that one. That was a bit of a disaster. Yeah. 2014 or something, wasn't it? Or something. Yeah. Anyway, that's another story. No episode on that one, trust me. Anyway, Gil Kennan has only had 5 director credits in 18 years. And he has no other credits there. He's one of his movies is Poltergeist from 2015. Yep. Sadly, he got a 4.9 score on IMDb on that one. And the other one was animation Monster House from 2006.
Oh, yeah. Yep.
I actually enjoyed that.
Monster House Inc.
No, just Monster House. You're thinking of Monster Inc.
Oh, I'm thinking Monster Inc. A completely different movie.
Because that was a huge hit, yeah. So he's only got 5 credits. But from what we've seen from the preview, from the trailer, which we'll play in just a second, it looks pretty good. I'm kind of keen on it, very keen on it. So hopefully, like I said, get a bit of time this weekend. Our famous stars are back. Paul Rudd. And he's always a laugh. He's
good. He was great in Ant-Man.
Yeah, he was, except for the last movie.
The first one, I mean.
Yeah, the movie. He's always good, but the movie was just rubbish. Quantumanium, that was just a disaster. Was that part of Phase 4? I think it was.
No, I don't know.
And Finn Wolfhard, who's from Stranger Things.
Oh,
the curly-haired bloke.
Yep, curly-headed.
I like him. He's good. He's got good energy in it.
Yeah.
And we've got our classics: Bill Murray, Dan Aykroyd, Ernie Hudson. Mm-hmm. He plays a bigger role.
Yep.
Annie Potts, the secretary.
Yeah.
Ghostbusters, what do you want?
No Chris Hemsworth.
Here's a surprise. See if you recognise this name. William Atherton.
Not off the top of my head.
He was in the first one.
Okay.
He played the EPA, I think it was the EPA, dude. Yeah, he was the one that came down to the station.
This man has no dick. That guy? Is that the guy? Yeah.
you do remember it. And he was the dude that ended up releasing all the ghosts that destroyed the city or the building, whatever it is. Well, he's back.
Okay.
I'm not sure. He plays the same character, but I don't know if he's still with the EPA.
Okay.
We'll find out. So anyway, after us blathering about it, why don't we have a look at it? Because the trailer is pretty cool.
For the first time in New York history, a room full of people froze to death in July.
It's an unimaginable evil with the power to kill by fear itself.
Like, literally scared to death?
Now it's headed straight for us.
Is something trying to get out?
Many things.
It's commanding an army of the undead.
I think we're all going to die.
Hold on to your ass! This could bring about the end of humankind.
Disgusting.
Good to see them get a mention.
I forgot to mention Oswald Patton's in it as well. I like him. He's good. Oswald Patton is a comedian that's been doing quite a few movies. Yeah. I'm trying to think of the last thing he did. Whatever. I like him anyway. So that's happening now. So if you get a chance, go down and check it out. Hey, actually, if you see it, leave a comment. Come back, leave a comment, and give us a quick rundown what you thought of it, because I'd love to know. And if we get there before you, I'm not leaving a comment. Anyway, now the next movie is a very important movie, actually. It's called Just a Farmer, and it was made right here in Victoria, in Australia. And it's all about the struggles of our farmers here and the debts that they have to face, also the psychological issues that they've got to go through, being so isolated. And it was an independent movie made on a very modest budget of 1.5 million. Now, having said that, it's actually got a great cast in it. Some really well-known actors here in Australia. And the person who produced it, wrote it, and I don't know, she stars in it because I haven't seen the movie. I've seen a lot of the previews from it. I believe she stars in it too. Yeah, she's in it. And Leela McDougall, her name is, and what an achievement to be able to get something like that off the ground. And she's a fair income farmer. Yeah, she's not just an actress. Yeah, she comes from a farming family. Very dear to her, the whole story. She wanted to tell her. I know Leela. I've met her a few times, and a wonderful person. And she's always been very involved in the farming community. Yep. She's always pushed it, always trying to make it better.
She's also always been a huge mental health advocate.
Correct, yes, correct.
Really, that's been her whole life, really.
Hence the movie.
Yeah. She started a clothing label, didn't she, or something? Or she tried to at some stage?
It sounds familiar, yeah.
Yeah, or her own brand of clothing.
Yeah.
Something like that.
But she's been in a few pageants as well. That's how I know her.
Yeah, right.
Not that I was in pageants. I was going
to say, not competing against you, I hope.
Well, I'm thinking of changing my pronouns.
Yeah, okay.
So, if you remember David Stratton from At the Movies, remember that old show on the ABC?
Yeah.
They used to review movies. A bit like, well, actually not anything like us. They were very professional and had a set.
We're nothing like
Had a set. Well, his comment was, I like it enormously. I very much admired the film. That's coming from David Stratton. Out of I can't remember her name. Who co-hosted?
Oh, I can't remember. I didn't watch it a lot. Yeah. It's on the ABC.
I would always, not always, but most of the time side with David once I've seen the movie. Anyway, so like I said, it stars Leela McDougall, who wrote it, stars in it. And also Joel Jackson. Now, he has 15 credits. So
wasn't he in Peter Allen?
He actually played Peter Allen.
So I should say he played Peter Allen.
Yeah, absolutely. He was the front boy out there, front and centre.
Yeah.
And one of the last things he did, and I think he was in like every episode of Mrs. Fisher's Modern Murder Mysteries. Yeah,
Can't say I've ever watched one.
Yeah, but so he's some acting chops in him there. And they've also got Damien Walsh Howling. He's been around for a gazillion years now. I've seen him.
What's he been in?
Blue Healers.
Oh, Blue Healers. Yeah, I never watched that either.
Yeah,
sorry,
all 100,
very un-Australian.
180 episodes of it. You know.
Never watched Blue Healers. Never watched Neighbours. Sorry.
So that'll probably be the first time I ever knew of him. And he's been active. He's all these years. He's never stopped.
Yeah.
He's always appearing in some series. So he's in the movie as well. He was in Underbelly and The Last King of the Cross, which was the last series he was in. I think it was a mini-series. Then you've got Robert Taylor. Not the 50s Robert Taylor. He's passed away.
Yeah, I was going to say, but wouldn't be pretty.
Yeah, Robert Taylor's got some cred behind him as well. 76 credits.
Okay.
He's got on IMDb. He was in The Meg.
Oh, yeah. Yep.
Kong, Skull Island.
Yeah, wow, some big ones.
And one of my favourites, Wolf Creek. Yeah. Now, that was a happy movie.
Great Australian.
That's a Christmas movie.
Australian family Christmas movie.
Yeah, that is definitely a Christmas movie.
Yeah, watch that one with your kids. They'll be traumatised for life. Have you seen that movie, Lance?
Yeah.
Wolf Creek?
I sure have.
Yeah.
I wasn't a child when I watched it, so I'm quite glad that it didn't traumatise me.
Didn't traumatise you? No.
You sound like you belong in that movie.
What's that supposed to mean?
He sounds like the main...
Does he really? That's not very nice.
Listen to his voice.
Oh.
He's got a great voice. Great Aussie voice.
I thought I just had a really nice microphone voice.
He does have a nice voice. He's got a very pleasant microphone voice.
Very pleasant.
Yeah, I'm sure he could talk.
He's a ghost, but
I'm sure in a movie like that he could talk the lead women into anything.
He's actually AI. He's not real.
Yeah, no one's actually seen him.
Yeah, that's why we can't show him. Unless
it's like that. Remember the old ad with the dentist? We can't show his face on TV.
Oh, that's right. We should take some photos of the back of his head.
Yeah,
this is. Remember Dickie Knee?
Yeah, Dickie Knee. That's what we should do.
We need a Dickie
Just
Knee.
a little. Yeah.
I'm getting you a wig next.
Poor Lance is thinking, what are they even talking about? Do you remember Hey Hey It's Saturday? Or was that before your time?
Oh no, I remember Hey Hey It's Saturday.
Yeah. Do you remember Dickie Knee?
Yeah, it's all on YouTube now too. I've been watching it recently.
Yeah, right.
Well, yeah.
Oh, have you ever watched any of the aggro stuff?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
Especially the stuff that never made it to air. It's seriously aggro. Go check it out on YouTube. Just
especially you guys in the US.
Yeah.
Who think, check out some Aussie humour. There's a lot of
but trust me, there's no politically correctness there. None whatsoever.
Not in that
it's
era.
Hilarious.
There was none in that era. It was just
it's fantastic, and he's still around. Does commercials occasionally.
Oh right.
Yeah.
Okay.
And finally, well, there's quite a few actors in there, but Susan Pryor, who's had 65 credits to her name. Aftertaste was one of the shows she was in, but she was actually in one of my all-time Aussie shows, favourite Aussie shows, which is Glitch. Have you ever heard of it?
I've heard of it. I've never watched it.
Again, made here in Victoria, just up north. It is absolutely brilliant. And Glitch is all about this outback town, and all of a sudden, the dead people come to life.
Oh.
They start crawling out the grave, and they're all intact. They're not bones or anything like that. They're live human beings.
Yep.
And you've got all these people from different eras.
Actually, I think I might have watched some of that.
Yeah, you've got some from the 1880s.
Yep.
And they've all got backstories, and they turn up and they confront their families and things like that.
Yeah.
And the deeper story gets into there's this company that's let out toxic waste, I think it was, into the ground, hence why they came to life again. And it's absolutely brilliant. Loved it. The 3 seasons, if I remember rightly, the first 2 seasons are brilliant. I couldn't get enough of it. I think there was like 8 or 10 episodes.
Okay.
But the 3rd season went off the rails a bit. They tried to make it into this huge story that they couldn't justify the ending. I'm not going to spoil it for you. It's, if you find it, seriously find it. It is a brilliant series. Glitch is the name. Mm-hmm. Aussie show, Melbourne show.
Yep.
Yeah. Brilliant. Loved it. Couldn't get enough of it.
Mm.
Okay, so let's actually see the trailer. We almost forgot about the trailer.
Let's not do that. Yep.
After all that. So here it is.
I didn't choose this life. I was born to live it. So was Dad, Pa, his dad, and his dad before that.
Come on, ladies. You're supposed to be slowing down, you know.
It's payback for all the free labour you got out of me as a kid.
Huh.
I learned from watching my mum and dad and how they work together. So does my sister Sally.
Any trains? I know. Feet up.
I'll always remember these days. It's the happiest days of my life. Together as a family.
Oh, you're so lucky I love you.
Really?
Yeah.
Is that about right, is it?
I don't know how you're going to deal with all this.
Deal with what?
$6 million debt?
Most farmers are in this amount of debt. As farmers, we gamble with the weather every day, and it's a risk we take.
You have no idea what I'm going through.
Maybe you should talk to someone.
Oh my God, no, I'm fine.
No, you're not, Alison.
You and your dad's coward.
Play a game of footy, all right?
Where's heaven?
What?
Where's heaven?
The sky, I think.
Can we go there?
Switch to Chrome.
Looks like
so
it'd be
good,
a fantastic movie,
doesn't it?
Yeah.
Very emotional. You know, one of the things. Oh, by the way, it's at Village Cinemas. I looked it up today, trying to find out, where it's playing. They had the premiere of it last weekend. Not the premiere, what do they call it? Advanced screenings for a lot of the people. But it looks amazing. And one of the things I never got was city folk telling farmers how to live.
Oh, yeah.
You know?
Look, it's a hard, grueling life. I mean, Leela McDougall, I don't know if you know Leela McDougall's mother tried to commit suicide.
Oh, really?
Yeah, when Leela had her first child, I believe. So that's, she's lived this story in her own family. So I think that it's a pretty important part of her being able to bring the passion to the movie.
Yeah.
I think it's going to be, I haven't seen it yet, obviously, but I think it's going to be one that really hits home for a lot of people, especially in rural Australia.
Yeah.
And that's a big part of our lifestyle here.
Yeah, absolutely.
Even though we don't all live in the sticks, we know people who do. We're not that disconnected. We all know someone who lives out in the bush. And
sadly, we've got a good portion of the population that don't know where our food actually comes from.
Yeah, well, that's true.
Yeah. I couldn't imagine the life, and even though I'm an old school boy, and I'm a very physical bloke, I'm a handyman. I build things and work on cars when they break down. I don't normally. You're a big car fan. You restore cars and do all sorts of things.
Yeah, same as Lance.
Yeah, so we're very hands-on. Where majority of people in cities just don't do that anymore. So they'll never understand the life of a farmer.
Yeah.
I've got friends that have been farmers for generations. I've been to farms, but I'll never understand the hardship that they go through. Through the droughts, the amount of, like I mentioned earlier, the psychological issues that they've got to go through when they live in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah.
Your closest neighbour is, 30, 50, 60 kilometres away.
Yeah.
Maybe more than that.
More.
Yeah.
I think there's also the obligation that you feel in a role like that. Like, most of us have jobs and, we've got to fend for our families and feed our kids and pay our mortgages and rent and whatever else. But at the end of the day, if it really gets too much, you can tell your boss to shove it.
Yeah,
and you'll go and find a way to survive, whether it's, on the dole for a while till you find something else or whatever the case may be. You always find your feet.
Yeah.
And there's always the opportunity to find your feet in Australia. Is probably a better point. But for guys like that and families like that, women like that, the next generation of children growing up like that, they get up at 4 a.m. and go and milk the cows. I know that's a simplified way of putting it, but they can't just wake up one morning and go, "Oh, stuff this, I'm not doing it."
Yeah, correct.
It's not that simple.
Correct.
They're in debt over their heads, a lot of these people. So even if they wanted to just close it all down tomorrow, it's very hard for them to find a way out of that. So I think that they're very brave people, and they take on a lot in what they do.
Right.
And you watch what happens to them, in the food chain. As you mentioned before, people don't know where their food and drink comes from. A lot of kids think milk comes out of a bottle, and that's all they need to know. But you watch the way farmers are treated by the big two. We've got a lot of issues here in Australia. I'm sure it's the same in other countries, but we've got a lot of I'm trying to be politically correct so I don't get in trouble with YouTube here about discussing price and the way the prices are structured here. But you've really got the big two, right, which is Coles and Woolworths, and the monopoly they have on the market and what they're doing to farmers, the absolute destruction. It makes you not want to ever set foot in one of their shops.
Correct.
But what are your options? Aldi. Like Aldi's is great, but they don't have anywhere near the range. So if you want to go to a supermarket, and then your little corner supermarkets like IGA and stuff, I know a lot of people out there will say, only ever go to IGA, blah, blah. But, you can sometimes be talking 10 or 20% more in cost for a small supermarket. So those bigger supermarkets have such a monopoly, and what they do to farmers is disgusting. Absolutely disgusting.
We've got our lives are so easy compared to farmers, because farmers, their future is governed by the quality of the weather.
Absolutely.
If they have a drought, they can lose absolutely everything.
Yeah.
You know what we do? We turn on the aircon.
Yeah. That's right.
That's how we solve it.
Yeah.
We won't lose our jobs because the farmers are having a drought.
Yeah.
We just go to work, stick on the aircon, even at the supermarket, you're selling their fruit, their vegetables, their produce, meat. You're in an air-conditioned environment. You're there from, 9 to 5, and then you go home.
Yeah.
The farmers work day and night, early in the morning.
For very little.
Yeah. To
Little.
get very little back from what you're receiving that you take for granted that's so cheap.
Yeah. I watched a documentary recently about the Coles and Woolworths, the way they manipulate farmers, and I watched one go. It was heartbreaking. I think it was cherries that he might have had, like a whole field of cherry trees, and he was bulldozing them. And he said, it's cheaper for me to bulldoze them than to try and sell them. I'm like, it's just wrong, And the backroom handouts that these farmers have to give to these corporations so that they're the farm that they buy from and stuff like that. It's all wrong on so many levels, And now you look at what's happening around the world at the moment with farmers and the Netherlands.
Europe.
It's criminal, absolutely criminal. Then you've got people like Bill Gates, that is one of the largest farmland owners in the world. I mean, we could go on about this forever as well. But
I saw a video just recently, couple of days ago. It was a US farmer. He was saying like there was 380,000 farms that have disappeared in the last 5 years. Some astronomical. Fact check me, please. I'll have to look it up.
Wouldn't be the slightest bit surprised.
Yeah, but it was astronomical amount. And I looked down and I thought, oh my God, what's happening? All that does is not only does it shorten the supply of what's available, but the prices go through the roof.
Oh, totally.
Absolutely go crazy. And then to get more of that product, they start genetically modifying everything.
Yeah.
So we end up in this huge loop, horrible, horrific loop of stuff that isn't even healthy for you anymore.
Yeah.
Because it's so pumped up with steroids. They don't look like that. They just look huge.
Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway.
So I think that's going to be. There's been some really powerful movies that have come out over the last few years, and I think this is going to be one of them.
Yeah,
you've got things like I'm not making a comparison because it's a completely different thing, but things like Sound of Freedom, and there's been a few others. There's been a few really powerful movies over the last few years that people don't get to hear about. But I think this is going to be another one where, if you're not paying attention, you'll miss this one because it is an Australian movie for a start. So unless it's something some Hollywood blockbuster that's associated to Australia, we're not people are going to miss it. But I think not just in Australia, but I think all around the world, the USA, Europe should all take a moment to watch a movie like this and really get into the mind of people in that situation.
Well, we had a choice of about 6 or 7 different movies to put on our little list to talk about tonight, and I thought this movie really, really was important.
Yeah. Yep.
Excuse me.
Yep. No, go and see it.
We had to talk about it.
Go and see it. I haven't even seen it, and I'm still saying go and see it.
Yeah,
so,
exactly. We will. We'll get out there. We'll try and get out there this weekend.
Yeah.
And that's pretty much our show for today.
Just on that, coming up over the next few months, there's a couple of ones I've got my eye on that are coming out soon. Is The Fall Guy.
Oh, yes.
Very different to what we're talking about, but it's The Fall Guy, which is, I don't know. What do you think? Have you seen the preview of that?
I'm about to bring it up because we have the internet. Because we are in 2024. And if somebody watches this next year, they'll go, oh, you're a bit behind, mate. Fall Guy trailer. There we go. Now that's... wasn't there a series on?
It used to be a series. When I was growing up, we used to watch it every week. Yeah, it was a big thing.
Okay. Oh, look who it is, Ryan Gosling.
Yep.
Right. So what can I say other than? Okay. Here we go. All right. Got it all lined up. That's the beauty of technology. And here we go.
Everything. Do you want to make out or?
Nope. Oh, yes.
This does not seem safe. Hell yeah!
We're getting tangled in exposition. Minerals.
Oh. What's an ice crime? Are you saying ice cream or ice crime? Ice crime. Okay, your answer, that's hard.
I'm not reporting an ice cream.
Yes, no, I get that.
Okay.
You're like sexy bacon.
What is this?
You know?
You need carbs!
What are you doing?
Just chilling down.
You been crying to Taylor Swift?
Doesn't everyone?
Yeah, I think it'd be a bit of light-hearted fun.
It looks awesome, actually. It looks really, really good.
Yeah.
Ryan Gosling, he's just hitting a 6 left, right, and centre at the moment.
Yeah, he's
isn't he?
doing really well.
Yeah.
He's doing really well. Yeah. Another one that's coming out, it's supposed to be coming out this year. I haven't seen any trailers yet. There might be one, but I haven't looked for a few days, and that's Nosferatu.
Oh, the Dracula thing.
Yeah, have you seen a preview for that yet?
No.
Yeah, there's supposed to be one coming out this year.
Oh, there you go, Nosferatu trailer.
For 2024.
Nosferatu, the vampire teaser trailer.
Well, this will be... well, this will be my first time viewing it too. Could be absolute rubbish, but...
Yeah. All right, so a bit of a warning because we have no idea.
Could be anything.
Could be anything, so let's find out here. How long's it go for? Well, hopefully
it's a teaser. It won't be long.
Yeah, well, hopefully it is a teaser, not one of those fan ones that's put together.
Oh,
yeah.
Good point.
All right. Thank you very much, and good night. No, actually. Here we go. Oh, yeah, focus features.
Christmas Day.
Wow.
Yeah.
I know a lot more about that movie.
Well, I don't. Well, we'll keep an eye out for it, so we'll see what happens. And there's also a new...
we still haven't even reached what it is.
There's also a new Lord of the Rings movie coming out this year, because we haven't got enough yet, apparently.
Movie or series?
Maybe it's a series. I thought it was a movie.
Oh, it's the first time.
You aware of that? So the War of Rohirrim.
Oh. Lord of the Rings. Oh, there it is. Okay.
Is it a series or
Didn't know anything about it.
I've only heard a rumour. I haven't looked into this one yet either.
Okay, here we go. Teaser trailer again. Okay, well, let's play the teaser trailer.
It popped up on my feed just before Tuesday night's episode, so I haven't had a chance to go back and have a look.
Okay, so this is another one we're watching for the first time, possibly your first time as well, so good luck.
Where does your journey end? You seek that which would bestow upon you the right to rule.
Looks pretty epic.
The quest to reclaim a homeland and slay a dragon.
Do not think I won't kill you, dwarf.
This is not real.
No, this feels like it's fan-made.
Yeah.
It is not our fight.
It is our fight.
Yeah, it's fake.
It's undoubtedly a trap.
Do you think this is fan-made or something?
Well, let's have a look at the comments.
Because I know there is one coming.
I clicked on the wall and got the Hobbit. Whiskey Tango. Whiskey Tango.
Whiskey Tango
Yeah, we
Foxtrot.
fell for it as well.
Yeah.
Clickbait.
Okay. Well, look. I do know that there is one coming out this year. I don't know anything about it yet, so we'll keep an eye out for that as well. I'm just curious because when you go back to the Lord of the Rings movies, they were fantastic. But then what was that series they tried to bring out a little while ago and it was a complete fail?
Yeah. What they call? Yeah, they went all woke and a lot of the characters look like Yeah,
it didn't work anyway.
No,
so it'll be interesting to see.
But they approved the second series.
Did they?
Yeah.
Oh,
they
why?
just finished. They just finished filming it.
Okay.
What do they call it? I
Who
can't
knows?
remember now.
Maybe enough people liked it.
Well, the executives, I guess, liked it because that was Amazon.
Yeah.
That was Amazon. Yeah.
So it'd be interesting to see whether this one goes back to that really good epic vibe of the first few, or whether we stay on the same path as the latest series.
Well, look what they did with The Hobbit.
Yeah.
I mean, that was Peter Jackson.
Yeah. Anyway, there you go. That's just a few we're going to keep an eye out for this year, and who knows?
Yeah. Well, just trying to quickly look up, see what the TV. I never watched it.
Yeah,
it just
I
didn't
couldn't.
interest
I think
me
I
at all.
watched the first episode or something.
Yeah.
Might have been half of the first episode.
I can't even. No, it's not Fellowship of the Ring. That's
No,
the movies.
I can't remember what it was.
I
now.
can't even
Anyway,
find anything.
doesn't matter.
Yeah, absolutely.
matter.
Right, that was good. That was episode number 2 all done.
Absolutely, fantastic.
Thank you very much for sticking around to the end. Yeah,
thanks for joining us, and we'll see you on the next one.
Don't forget, we're here every Tuesday and Thursday nights from 8 p.m. Australian Eastern Standard Time.
Yep.
Stick around, leave some comments there for us. Let us know what you thought, and also what areas we can improve. We're all ears at the moment. Once we get big and successful, we're not going to listen to you anymore, okay?
That's right. And if you give us any great ideas and they work, we're not paying you. So.
That's right. And we're taking the credit. But the good news is we've got heaps planned. So stick around. Come back next week. We'll see you next Tuesday, hopefully. And it's goodbye from Grumpy.
And goodbye from Pinky.